Welcome to OLP On Site. I'm Charles Bentley, and today we are on site at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We're spending the day with the coaching staff, visiting their brand new state-of-the-art facilities, and hearing, of course, what the coaches have to say in regards to player development. It's going to be a great segment. Come take the tour with us. The transition from high school to a major Division I program, what's been some of the biggest challenges you've had to face?
You know, probably just the management of some of the administrative stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, we were talking earlier about the fundraising for the building. So one of the things is we didn't have the infrastructure to compete recruiting-wise at an elite level, not even at a Mountain West level. So we knew we needed to do something about that. We needed to raise coaching salaries. We needed to go ahead and, and invest in our facilities. So, raising the money for the Fertitta football complex was a whole job in itself. I mean, I was half a football coach and half a fundraiser for the university. But I'm proud of it. It's the most expensive athletic facility ever built. And, at UNLV, it's the largest fundraise project we've ever had athletically. And we've had some of the largest donations ever. So it's been a lot of work, but now to see it almost at completion and knowing the impact that it's going to have on this program, not for the next 2 or 3, but the next 30, 40, 50 years, it makes you proud.
You talked about recruiting. Let's talk about the impact on the growth of the infrastructure on recruiting. How is that going to help you?
It's a game changer for us because, for example, you'll get a kid on campus, and let's say you're one of the first schools he sees. Well, he's excited. He's walking around a football building. But then he's going to go compare apples to other schools. He's going to go to Boise, or he may go down the road to UCLA or other places, and you look and go like it just doesn't match facility-wise. Do facilities win games? No, but great players do.
Of course.
And getting great players in your facilities is the key.
Right. That's the key. Now, coming from Gorman, you've had every top program come through and check out your players. How has that past experience and exposure helped you in recruiting today?
Man, that's a great question. And I'll tell you what, I tell people all the time is, I didn't know it at the time, but I had a front row seat to recruiting on a national scale. I saw the good and the bad of the ugly. Man, who was full of it, who was sincere, what did the players gravitate to, what were they attracted to, just the different ways people went about doing it. So, I've shared a lot of that with our staff. I think I had a really good pulse on the high school kid and, and what they look to, what they're looking for. And my whole thing is always just be raw and real. At the end of the day, be raw, be real with the kids. You can recruit them with bling, but you're going to keep them with substance. So there's better be something there, you know?
So what's your vision? What's your vision for UNLV football over the next 3-4 years?
I really believe that we have an opportunity going into this season, 2019, to win a bunch of football games. When we got here, one of the biggest areas we had to develop was the offensive line. You spent a day talking about that. We had 8 linemen on scholarship when we got here. And one of the things we said is we were going to run the football. We're going to be able to run the football so we can win football games, late in games. And I really believe that this year is an opportunity for us to go out and win a bunch of football games, move into a brand new facility. 2020 comes, we move into that new stadium we share with the Raiders. And all of a sudden now, opportunities upon us, right? We have a talented roster. We've had 3 semesters in a row, the highest GPA in the history of the program. We have 2 years in a row now, the highest APR in the history of the program. So our kids, they're understanding that this is about life, not just football. They're going to come here and they're going to leave better men of achievement. They're going to have degrees. They're going to have not just the paper, but the knowledge that comes with it. And they're going to be hard-working son of a guns that know how to win. And they're going to be that first generation that's changed UNLV football.
That's awesome.
I watched a little film on you guys. I know you do a little spread offense. Sometimes you do kind of line up in single back or the eye and hand the ball off as well. Talk to me about a little bit how those influences are influencing you today as a run game coordinator, as an offensive line coach, and how you guys are evolving here and, what makes your spread offense unique here at UNLV?
I think when you look back on it, championship teams are teams that can run the football in any condition, 4-minute goal line. The situations when everyone in the stadium knows you have to run the football.
Red zone.
The championship teams are the ones that can run the ball in any situation and stop the run in any situation. So I think first and foremost, that's who we're going to be, and I think that's in line with Coach Sanchez. Because we have to be a team that's physical up front on both sides of the ball and is very run dominant on both sides of the ball with the ability to create explosives.
At Concord University, you were a head coach. Not a lot of offensive line coaches have that background. Can you talk about how that experience has helped you, with your O-line room, now that you're being a position coach and run game coordinator? How's that helped you kind of be able to interact with your guys?
Yeah, I think when you address a whole team room compared to addressing those 15, 20 guys, having that experience of being in a full team room allows you to have that command of the room. I think it also allows you to see the team through a bigger lens.
Okay.
Sometimes as O-line coaches, you're just like, well, why are we doing this? Or why is the head coach doing that? And you're worried about your guys. And that's important.
Yes.
Most of your worries should be about your guys or that specific room that you're in charge of. But when you're a head coach, you kind of step back and you say, okay, well, coach is doing this because maybe that benefits the defense, or maybe that benefits the linebacker room. And I think that really, understanding the broad look at how a team's supposed to go, I think that gives you some perspective. I think the other thing, though, is you're more comfortable in front of the guys. So you're more comfortable leading the guys. You understand that it's not a yell first mentality. The thing I always say as a coach, like, you have to establish first and foremost with the kid how and what they need to do. Can they get in the right technique? Do they know the right assignment? Have they displayed this over time? Okay, if they have done that and they've checked those boxes, now you have permission to raise your voice to the kid.
I got you.
Because they've established that they know what to do.
Yes. Being a parent, being a father, how does that help you be able to, interact and get through to guys in a different way than just having a whistle?
Yeah. Well, I think you talk about perspective as a head coach lens. Being a father puts perspective even more, because now it's, hey, that's someone's child.
Exactly.
That's someone. Whereas before, it's Tommy who doesn't listen to what I'm trying to coach him to do. Now it's, hey, that's Tommy who has a mom, who has a mom and dad who love him and want to be treated the right way. And I think I never was a guy that yelled. I never was a guy that was too hard. There's times where you have to go there, but I think when you have a daughter and you look back and say, would I want a coach treating my child that way? And I think that's something you always have pictures of your family in your office because you love them and you want them first and foremost in your life. But the other part of it is a reminder that, hey, everyone in that room is someone's child. And you need to love them the same way because they thought enough of you to send them and be coached by you.
Yeah, that's the big picture right there.
Yeah.
That's the big picture.
You've pretty much been part of every level of football. You played at most or coached at most now. What was your playing experience like?
So in terms of playing experience, I got to be around some tremendous guys. I loved it. I was around the San Francisco 49ers when Jerry Rice was there, Steve Young, all these amazing
Hall of
guys.
Famers, right?
There was 8 All-Pros on the team when I was there, where you're looking going, hey guys, they're all pro, right? That's when there was no, salary cap. The year before the salary cap, and I was like, wow, this is incredible with the amount of experience. Man, the professionalism those guys had, it was amazing. That stuff was the best part that I took away from the game and life was, if you're gonna do things, you do it this way. This is how you apply yourself to anything you do, and you can be successful, was the pattern there that Coach Bill Walsh built with those standards of performance that he built out, that place held on to tooth and nail until the bitter end, and then, like I said, when Mariucci came, it faded, and it kept fading, and the organization went down. But that's the biggest thing. When I was playing, I wanted to play with Kansas City, but the biggest thing was what happened at the Niners was amazing. It was an amazing organization to be a part of, and I was always grateful for that experience.
Things have changed with just technology has changed people's bodies. Like I see high school kids, they're rounded like this, they're stiff, they don't play as much, and I don't blame them. Like some of these, if video games looked like that when I was young, that's all I would do too. I'm not blaming them. Gosh. But like, what are some of the things you see, like maybe universal, that you're seeing with athletes coming in?
So, the biggest thing is most guys are going to do bench, they're going to do squat, and they're going to do some kind of clean, right? And then you got these kids, and it's not just the technological, right? You got kids in class all day.
All day.
So high school, you're in school for 8 hours. You're sitting at a desk 45 minutes at a pop at least 6 times, right?
Yeah.
So you're sitting down, they're talking about getting rid of PE, right? So it's trying to limit different things.
Know,
kids don't have to take PE, like, going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So these guys, when they come in, is what you just said, they're sitting in this position where they're here, posterior chain's incredibly weak. It's out of optimal muscle length tension relationship. Like optimal length, I'm here, muscles fire
like
properly.
When your grandma would hit you to stand up.
I'm here,
Yeah.
this is too long, this is too tight, I'm gonna get some kind of overactivity issue here, I'm gonna get some kind of pullback here.
Right.
Or my shoulder's not in proper position, socket-wise, I'm gonna get some kind of labrum issue.
Right.
An impingement issue, something that's gonna happen in my shoulder. The other thing too is I'm sitting down all the time. My flexors are incredibly tight, and in football, you're always squatting and bending in football.
Yeah.
So they're already gonna beat that position to death playing.
Yeah.
Now they're beating it to death while they're sitting down. Now they go home and they play the video games. The posture starts to be this incredibly posteriorly weak chain, right? And these really overactive flexors, that all of it leads to any immobility in the joint above leads to instability in the joint below. So kids get these tight hips, all of a sudden what's vulnerable is their knees.
Yeah.
And you get all these issues where the kids have got a higher vulnerability to this injury.
Yeah.
Because of these things. And so when you say, how do I see it? That's the side of technology and sitting down and our stationary lifestyle, our sedentary lifestyle and all these other different things that have impacted the kinetic chain of the human body negatively for people that are performing in athletics, right?
Like we just kind of formed this thing right here.
I mean, you're like this
Yeah.
all day, or the kids are laying down. I know I see it all the time. When the guys come in, that's the hardest pattern to fix. We do scap retraction drills.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, you really do this? The Division I athletes. And I'll go, yeah, watch this. The kid will start.
Yeah, it's all traps,
All
right?
trap.
Yeah.
You're like, you see the synergistic trap dominance?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We can't get him to decompress the scap.
Right.
Okay, good, he's got a floating joint. He's gonna have a labrum within a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
Automatic. It's not stabilized, right? His bench is gonna suffer. He can't set a proper platform to do his bench because he can't retract his scap and get his chest out.
Right.
He can't get a proper squat, his low back's weak. He's incredibly weak through his posterior chain. Usually their hamstrings are overactive because they're shortened here like this. So when you try and get the guy to go in a squat, he's like, or he's rounded and he's sitting down, he can't push his knees out. And so when the guys come in, that's the biggest thing we see is the instability in the kinetic chain and the incredibly poor patterning in the kinetic chain in basic patterns. Hip hinge, squat, press, whatever, you name it.
We spend so much time with strength coaches as athletes, like you gotta grow to really appreciate them and love them. And for me, I love when a strength coach has been through injuries. I know it sucks for you, but could you talk about how maybe that helped you as a strength coach? Like you said, there was no one to tell you why you were hurt.
When I say that's been the most pivotal part of my coaching philosophy and the biggest influential factor on my coaching philosophy, when I came out of the league, no one could tell me, hey, you've done your medial collateral, your ACL, your ACL. No one could tell me, hey, you keep doing this over and over again. I was glad I got to stay as long as I did. I was hurt so much half the time that I was like, I got to be getting put out of here in a minute. There's just no way they're going to let me stay much longer. I'm always hurt. And what happened was no one could tell me. And then when I got out, a guy said, I was doing shoes and I said, man, my knee's bothering me. It's always bothering me kind of deal. And he said, hey, well, walk. Let me see your gait. So I started walking. He put these shoes on me and he went, hey, I'm shocked you haven't blown your knees out like a million times. And I was like, hey, it's funny you say that because I have. So I don't know if you're a prophet or what, but I have. And he said, no, I believe it. You've got this thing at your ankle. You're pronated in the right ankle. It looks like a loose ligament. It makes you predisposed to ACL tears and knee tears, ligament tears in the knee, whether it's medial collateral or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, and he started to show me, hey, when you got an internally rotated femur and your tibia stays the same, that's how you tear your ACL. He said, your leg naturally falls into that position. When you're stepping and when you put pressure on it over and over, the light bulb goes off, right? I go, I'm there for 5 years. No one could tell me why it's been going on. I'm out here getting some shoes in the shoe store and this guy goes, hey, this could have been avoided. I wish I would have got you when you were younger. I go, oh, this is how I'm gonna make sense of my pain. I can help other people avoid the same thing. It became the platform for me. When I would go help, the first thing I do is I start doing assessment, looking at guys and going, hey, where's your ankle at? Is there a loose ankle? Do you have a pronation in the ankle? Are you everted, invert, whatever it is? How about the knee? Are you in valgus? Is it various? All right, what about the hip? Where's the hip at? I immediately start with the chain because I understand, hey, listen, if we don't assess this, what's gonna happen is you have this redundant injury pattern that you can't get out of. So the injuries played a part by making me hyper aware of the body and going in search of why is this happening? Okay, good. Well, that really, it doesn't limit your career, because if you're mentally tough enough, you push through anything. Maybe I could have been mentally tougher with different things, which I could totally agree with those things. You get to a breaking point and then you kind of move away from it. But you can help somebody's longevity by decreasing their risk of injury or increasing their injury resistance over a period of time. And then they have a longer career and a less, painful career in terms of an injury standpoint, because the game's a brutal game. But if I can do that, then it's all worth it. And so anyway, when you say, what was it that kind of tied me into it and how did that play a factor? All those injuries made me go in search of, hey, what's the best way to help kids get in proper alignment? How do I focus on technique, flexibility, mobility? It's the foundational piece of anything I do. And I go, the reason why is I want to help those guys avoid what I went through.
I love hearing that. I appreciate to hear like that, you're going through the right process. You kind of said something when you were in that culture in San Fran, like you were around all these Hall of Famers and stuff and Pro Bowlers and all pros. And I don't necessarily agree like football can makes you the man you are, makes you the person you are, but it does show you like the recipe. Like, so as you're like, maybe it's not what they like, they want to get in. I thought I was going to lift, you're giving me a plate, but it's like, hey, no, there's a process to this, and this is how you attack things, right?
That was the biggest thing, and I'll tell you, that was the part that Bill Walsh was brilliant about. He was brilliant about helping you look at the process and saying, hey man, everything's in steps. You need to take step one. He was also brilliant, and the thing that you grab is what you just said. Football doesn't make you the man or makes those different things. It reveals your character, like we always hear all the time people talk about. The other part about the revealing of your character is that it gives you an opportunity to be able to respond and to change. But that's on you and what you do. So you go, I didn't make me. If I make a choice to allow this to influence me in a way where I'm going to respond appropriately and then grow from it, then I'll become that man. If I have this experience and I don't make the choice, right, then it didn't make it. So when people say football, I'm like, it's a valuable tool if you understand the principles and you apply the principles to it.
Yeah.
But you can apply those principles anywhere and grow the same way, because universal principles are what they are.
Yeah.
They build your life no matter where you're at.
Just because you didn't make it to the NFL doesn't mean you can't take these principles to anything else.
That's the value.
Yeah, that's why I love football.
I tell the kids all the time, biggest thing you'll get out of football, the principles and the things it develops within you, the discipline it develops within you. The football in and of itself will end for everybody. The principles will last you for the rest of your life and help you be successful in anything you do.
Yeah.
If you hold to them and you really marry those principles.
I love it. So, I mean, how old were you when your football career ended?
28.
See, okay, so when I see a 28-year-old and their life is over, they're out of the league, even younger than that, their life's over, and I'm like, no, man, you got a lot of lives to live, and it's like you could just keep going, like you went high school successful, now college successful, and you're gonna keep taking those lessons and those principles to whatever you want, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the failures are the things that help me the most, because they tell me where I need correction.
Right.
Hiding from them only disables. With me. So absolutely, those are the biggest things when you come out. One of the hardest things walking away from football is you start to get a sense of identity from the game.
Right.
It's the only thing you've known to be successful. It's where you've gotten validation, right?
Right.
It's where people finally say, hey, you're acceptable. And you're like, oh, I finally am acceptable? Oh, this is awesome. I haven't felt much, I haven't felt a lot of acceptance growing up, these other different things. But now I feel like I'm socially acceptable. I've gotten a certain amount of status. I walk into restaurants. You mean I don't have to pay? I have the money now. I'll pay. Oh, you don't have to pay because you're, I'm somebody now.
That's crazy.
Because I'm playing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're out. And you're like, hey, who am I? I'm nobody anymore. I'm nothing. I'm not, and I don't know who goes. I went through that. Like, who am I? What am I? Am I ever going to do anything great again? Is that it? And then what you just said was it. Bingo, right on the money. When I finally realized, oh no, it was all these experiences I got and what they allow me to do now. And if I point that ambition and that passion at something else, I'll be successful at it. I just have to realize that's not the only thing I'm going to be good at. That's just one thing I gave everything to, and I was able to excel at to a certain degree. And I go, if I do it in this avenue, I'll excel over here the same way.
Yeah, I love it. So I mean, if you're willing to take those steps, this process with these kids, it just shows you really care about these players, right? When they're coming to UNLV, and it's a beautiful thing.
Oh my gosh, that's the biggest thing. The coaches I always admired the most were the ones who had a genuine interest.
Right.
Like a Mike Solari.
Yeah, we got a lot of Solari players, and they love him.
When I say, you look at that guy and you go, he just has a genuine interest. He brings you in, hey, let's talk. What's going on with you in life? What's going on with this? Hey, what do you need help with? Hey, let's talk, man. Let's talk about your assignments. Let's talk about what you need to do. How much more film do you need to do? All right, come on, man. Let's go break it down. Let's go do this. Let's go. You're just going, hey, this guy's trying to give me every opportunity to be phenomenal outside the hours that he's obligated to be in here. He wants to see me be great.
Yeah.
Carroll was the same way. I was having a hard time catching the ball, and I got about week 3 or 4 as a rookie. And I remember one of the guys was like, can you catch the ball anymore? You're great in the preseason, but you can't catch anymore. I dropped like 2 balls, right? 2 days of practice.
That's all it takes. That's all it
Niners,
takes.
if you drop 2 balls, if you drop the ball once a year, you're like, hey, you could get cut, man. You know, I'm saying that's what the standard was at. Where you're like, no one drops the ball out here.
Yeah.
And so I remember we went by, and in 1 week I dropped 2 balls, and Carroll was like, hey, he was a defensive coordinator. Hey, let's go. Come over here and start doing some catch. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, come on. And him and Mike Solari both took me down the end zone and they started doing catch with me. Every day when we had practice after that, Carroll would come get me, Pete Carroll would come get me and start throwing the ball with me and say, hey, turn around. And this dude would on purposely have me turn around and face away, and he'd throw the first one, he'd beat me in the back of the helmet on purpose. And then he'd say, I turn around and go, Coach, and he'd go, you scared? You rattled? Come on, you can trust me or what? You can turn around and do it again? Don't turn early either. And I go, all right, go ahead, man. He'd usually beat me a second time just to test me, and then he'd just start going. And we'd play catch for about 15, 20 minutes. He was a defensive coordinator.
That's awesome, man.
Where I'm like, I would think, wow, I wonder why he's over here throwing the ball with me. But it was a genuine interest. He has a genuine interest in people. It's contagious.
People.
That when you talk about it as a coach, you go, yeah, that's the biggest thing to me that had impact was the guys I saw, they just had a genuine interest in seeing you get better. I try and emulate that same thing every day.